Kafei here, and I'm joined by my good friend Globos Heckley to discuss that awesome trailer we received a few days ago for Final Fantasy VII Rebirth, starting with that message at the end that the game will come in 2 discs. So my first question is, how do you personally feel the 2-disc system will function? Will it be one for installation and the other the game? Will we switch discs halfway through? Or will it be something else?
I have a feeling it's going to be like an extended story. It's not just going to be, here's your install, here's your game disc. It sounds like, with how they're pushing it, it's definitely going to be something bigger.
That's what I'm hoping for. A lot of people thought that one disc is for installation, while the other disc is simply for the game, while a different portion felt that we'll switch discs halfway through, and to be honest, I was kind of on board with this at first, just for nostalgia's sake, but I don't think they'll be making us do that. I think they'll take a different approach. How about a disc for Zack and a disc for Cloud?
Oh, I can see them doing something like that too. Like, maybe it's like you beat the game, and then there's a cutscene that comes up going, oh, by the way, this isn't the end, and here's Zack. Here's what's happened with his story the entire time that you've been doing this.
Oh, I really hope so. And if that's the case, I hope they don't even tell us that that's what they're planning. Just have it as a complete surprise, the way that Kingdom Hearts Chain of Memory did when we got Riku's story after Sora's. So in this case, after we get Cloud's story, we get Zack's story.
Yeah, I can see it being like 3/4 of the story where everything starts lining up, and then, this story that you originally played continues, and now you have Zack there too.
So you are on board with it's not just an installation disc.
Yeah, I totally think it's going to be something completely different.
Yeah, I got my fingers crossed for that too. Because like you said, the way they seem to be marketing it seems like it's something grander than simply an installation. So, Rebirth is scheduled for early 2024. It's no longer specifically classified as this upcoming winter. So one of the main questions on everyone's mind is, will Rebirth still release this upcoming winter, or will it be shortly thereafter, like April, May?
I can see it being like February, March. Like, March is a usually big month for Square Enix and Sony, so I can see it easily then.
That's what a lot of people seem to think. However, we're both big fans of FF14, and based on what we know of that game, patch 6.5 is about 4 months away, and the only reason I bring this up is because the next expansion is also likely to then be scheduled sometime in early 2024. However, I feel Square won't want to release a major expansion right up against another enormous title in FF7 Rebirth.
I think the expansion is going to come out first, but it's kind of hard to tell with, they haven't even announced the expansion yet, other than we know there's something in the works.
Yeah, it seems all we know about 7.0 so far is that there's a graphical update going into that. But I know a lot of people, myself included, want Final Fantasy VII Rebirth to come out first. I just don't think that's where the cards will fall, though. I think the next expansion's likely to fall in late January, early February, and that would leave around April for FF7 Rebirth.
Yeah, I don't know. I got mixed feelings on when things are going to come out. Same
here, and I really hope that I'm wrong, and that Rebirth does end up releasing first, because we need that game. So I kind of had this fear going into Rebirth that the game wouldn't quite know what to do with all the extra party members. Because in addition to the main 4 from the last game, we have Red 13, Yuffie, Vincent, Cid, Katsif, all joining the party at some point, and even more characters depending on what they decide to do with everybody else, like Zack, Biggs, Wedge, and Jesse. My main fear was just that they would kind of be sitting on the side, or waiting in the airship while the other 3 were engaged in battle. But I realized there wasn't really any need to worry. The development team already had it covered, because from the trailer it appears we may have reserved party members we can swap in and out of battle. FF10 style. So, do you think this is the case based on the recent trailer? Will we have reserve party members?
Sort of, yeah. I feel like they're gonna end up doing something like that where it's, they're around. They may not be fighting with you all the time, but they're still there.
Do you think we'll have the option to sub in party members as the battle is taking place, like Tifa for Yuffie or Barrett for Red 13? And what about during a boss battle?
I would hope so. I don't know. I can see them doing it that way, or it could be more of you have them with you so that if things change, you can switch. Just maybe not on the fly mid-battle kind of thing.
I would hope it's mid-battle. Because that would mean, like I had a commenter point out, we would have to have different materia and equipment combinations for every party member, forcing us to have each character at their strongest with no one pushed to the side.
Yeah, I hope that's what it is. I hope that everybody gains levels at the same time and you don't have to keep swapping out. And it's just a nice way to just keep everyone going and you're not worried about leveling everything up all at once. You have your favorite characters and all of a sudden you have to use this character for a specific part of story and then all of a sudden you have to go back and level a ton to do it.
Yeah, I still feel like they may be able to fix that though with giving the same amount of XP to everyone, or maybe having the ones not quite fighting get a little less XP, kind of like the way Pokemon does it.
Or they could make it just hard enough that you are forced to switch out a character because they become incapacitated and you need to have something else.
Ooh, I like that. The battles would have to be slightly more scripted, but
almost like you're fighting for your life the entire time you're playing the game, and the characters that you would normally want to play with specifically just are never strong enough to do it on their own, that you have to switch people out. Make the game that much more intense.
Yeah, totally. I would be down for that. Make us use everyone. So, I guess my next question is, after watching the Rebirth trailer, how do you now think the timelines will function? Is it one single, merged timeline, two separate timelines, or something else entirely?
That's a hard one to answer, because we've had our theories since the game began, and I don't know, it's really hard to judge what they're trying to do with this. If it's, we had the original timeline from the original game, then we had a separate offshoot that this one was, and now we're going to a third one, or if it's just, they're screwing with us and Shinra's making false claims on TV that, oh yeah, the infiltrators were killed, etc., or captured. And yeah, I don't know.
I just don't know how they get... I mean, it could be propaganda, but how would they get them shown on the camera? I mean, basically, looking dead.
Again, like, just, edited footage kind of thing?
Could be. And I mean, you had an interesting theory that Zack was the one watching that broadcast.
Well, yeah, when they show it, it's a TV footage, right? So somebody important has to be watching it.
Yeah, totally. And with the way that Zack opened the doors to the church in Intergrade and was looking for Aerith, but instead found all those people who were wounded and crying, and, well, it turns out Aerith wasn't even there, could very well be Zack right after that, watching this broadcast.
Yeah, well, I mean, it could be right after the storm, too, right? But there's a lot of people that are hurt from buildings getting destroyed, bridges falling, so it could just be people who are hurt and hiding in the church.
Yeah. I ultimately feel that in Chapter 18 of Remake, the party entered a timeline, Zack's timeline, where they didn't win the final battle against Sephiroth. So that's why we see those four bodies there. However, our main party is still alive because they entered that timeline. But notice Cloud is absent among the bodies in the quote-unquote Shinra propaganda.
Yeah. Yeah, he's not there, but then we see him later on with the Sephiroth cloaks.
Yeah, I think that's the alternate Cloud, the Cloud from Zack's timeline, and he gave in to Sephiroth So we're gonna get to see what a Cloud who Sephiroth has at his full control looks like.
But if that's the case too, what other changes have happened? Like, would Crisis Core have ended the same way? Would all the same characters have died? Are we going to see other clones reappear? Like, there's so much that could happen out of this.
Yeah. Oh, it's crazy. I was always of the belief that there were two separate timelines before this trailer, but watching it just kind of, I don't know, I want to say clicked, and it just made me think that when we kind of enter the portal in Chapter 18, because Aerith's like, you know, everything's going to change, nothing will be the same once we do this, our destinies are forever, like, irrevocably changed. We enter it, and I just feel like that's when we enter Zack's timeline.
Potentially, yeah. We're hitting the multiverse of the Final Fantasy VII universe.
Yeah, and I think that's why they didn't give Crisis Core another ending, because they want us to recognize in the original timeline, Zack did die, but now our characters entered Zack's timeline and, you know, ripple effect and all that stuff, where he is still alive and it looked like he carried a Cloud to safety. Ooh.
Yeah, it's a lot to take in.
And 2 Buster Swords. That probably means 2 Buster Swords.
Yeah, I don't know how they'd explain that away, other than being multiple timelines, you know, crossing universes.
Yeah, I think it would just be as simple as that, because it looks like Zack still had his when he was carrying Cloud to safety, and when our Cloud entered that portal in Chapter 18, he had his Buster Swords, so, I mean, unless it's that weird time stuff where one of them has to disappear, but I hope they don't do that. I hope they just have 2.
If they get too close, it screws up the universe and everything explodes.
No, I really hope it's not something like that.
Me too.
Let's jump to another part in the trailer when Sephiroth is talking to Cloud near the end, and he's saying, "You know that I killed her, so who is she?" And it appears he's talking about Tifa, not Aerith, which is what a lot of people had thought. So ultimately, my question is Sephiroth just messing with Cloud's head, trying to convince him Tifa died in Nibelheim? Or is Tifa an imposter? Potentially a Genova copy. I've heard that theory.
I mean, this could be the multiverse thing again, where in this current timeline that they've jumped to, he killed Tifa, but in our timeline, that never happened. So our Tifa could actually still be Tifa. And it's just a whole mess of, oh my god, what the hell?
Oh, yeah, they could show the one character or the one Tifa, making us thinking it's the other Tifa at the same time. But I've heard the theory that she could be a Genova copy, but I don't know. Maybe I just don't like that theory. I don't know, but I don't want that to happen.
Yeah, and that could be the way that they get around not killing Aerith, is that they, you know, killed Tifa and not told us until, you know, this happens.
Oh, so you actually think that maybe Tifa could?
Point, it could be the Tifa has died and we had no idea, and we're going to get flashbacks to the actual moment it did happen. And we may not get out of this without somebody dying, or multiple people dying. Maybe it takes the whole group to die to set the universe right and have a happy ending. Not for the player, but for the universe.
I mean, I do agree definitely in the sense that I think somebody will have to die, whether it's Zack, Aerith, Tifa, whatever. But that's an interesting theory, that maybe Tifa's, like, in this new timeline, maybe Sephiroth had already killed her, and that's a big twist.
Appease the universe, it could be 2 people, because Zack and Aerith are alive, so 2 people have to die in their place.
Ooh.
I think that's something people haven't thought about if Zack is alive, is that, you know, there should be 2 deaths, not just 1.
I mean, it all depends if the universe works in that like give and take way that we've seen in some other types of media,
Yeah.
or if it's just like once you enter the new timeline, past is irrelevant, future's what happens.
Yeah, could be something as simple as that too. A lot of theories.
Oh yeah. So, I guess that leads me into my last question. When will we get the next trailer for FF7 Rebirth? Because, I mean, after 16 releases in a couple days, they're going to go full force with that. So do you think it'll be something like Tokyo Game Show, Jump Festa, the Game Awards, something else?
Well, I mean, we're in the season of everybody doing their conferences, so do we know when Square Enix is doing a conference? Because I'm sure they're still going to have something. And with Spider-Man up and coming, I'm sure Sony's still going to be doing some sort of extra announcement for collector's editions and all that stuff. So I have been seeing advertisements for a big collector's edition for that too.
Yeah, I've been seeing a lot of advertisements for collector's edition. I want them to do a Square Enix Presents. I haven't heard anything about it, but that I think people are itching for one because it's not even just Rebirth, and like Kingdom Hearts fans are in a drought. It is crazy how little we've heard about Kingdom Hearts, and people want that FF9 remake. They're now talking about an FF10 remake. I've heard of Tactics, a rumored remake. It's just I feel like they do need a presentation of some sort.
Square's in charge of a lot of IPs that there's so much stuff that could be announced, could be in the works that we're not hearing about. And for all we know, there could be another Nier in the works too.
I could totally see that.
For a new Chrono Trigger, there could be something, a remake on Chrono Trigger too. Like, there's so much that they could do. The nostalgia of everything. And we're already getting the 7 remake. We could be getting another Final Fantasy remake too.
Well, yeah, 9 and 10, they seem to be the ones that are pushing. I still want them to come out with like a 2, but I mean, I would be totally fine with that.
I think 7 will be the latest remake. We're not going to get anything above 7 for a while.
Did you hear the rumors the other day that for 2026, which is the game's 20 or 25th anniversary of FF10, they want to have that out, like a remake? That's what I've been hearing.
I feel like that's way too soon for a remake on that one. When they're going back to remake like 1 and 6. Well, 7, sorry. The rumors of 6, rumors of a few of them. Like, I feel like 2 and 3 would be the best to go back and remake now to actually give them a fuller story.
I think so. I think they should start with some of the earlier ones, and even if they have to hold off on the later ones. And
remake all the ones for 6. Like, those should be the focus, because those are big titles that could use a lot of expansion. Like 6 alone, all the backstory from the characters, there's so much that they left out because they didn't have space on the damn cartridge for it.
Yeah, you could not fit 6 into a single game. 6 would have to be 2 games. Like, it's that extensive.
Or it just could be, 3 Blu-rays.
Yeah, coming on 3 or 4 discs. Maybe they'll just keep doing that. Oh, now I want to.
That's me and my Final Fantasy 6 love.
Yeah. Well, I think that's about all the time we have for today. So, I want to say thank you to our good friend Globos Heckley for joining us.
No problem, anytime.
Awesome. It's always great having you on to discuss the latest in everything Final Fantasy, especially Rebirth. If anyone has any questions about anything we discussed today, perhaps something else, just leave a comment down below. And if you want even more Rebirth-related content, feel free to like or subscribe. Otherwise, have yourself a great day. Have fun, my friends, and happy gaming.